Hey, fellows. Let's see with a show of hands. Who here has experienced a day without water or something to drink? I have, and it changed my life forever. In 2011, I participated in a spiritual fast and went without food or water for 3 days. By the end of the third day, I was not Kayla anymore. My identity was gone. There was no job or school, no friends, no family. There was nothing but water. This experience radically redefined my perspective on resource consumption and my appreciation for the many, many blessings in my life. Material things I once valued, like a new phone or cute clothes, they vanished. And in those few days where my consciousness was lost in the depths of severe hydration, I could only think of one thing. Climate change is driving ecological shifts that will forever impact the future of life on this planet. Warmer temperatures increase the rate of the hydrologic cycle, which increases the atmosphere's capacity to hold water. This can lead to a plethora of issues like unpredictable rainfall patterns that result in severe droughts and floods, rising sea levels, and saltwater intrusions. Not to mention the recent surge of superstorms that have rocked coastal and inland communities across the globe with flash floods, hurricanes, tsunamis, and extreme drought. Today, over 2 billion people lack daily access to safe drinking water, and 4 billion experience severe water stress for at least 1 month out of the year. Some of you have probably witnessed this firsthand, but soon we all will. Only 0.3% of the world's water can be consumed by humans. Water scarcity may very well be the issue of our lifetime, and yet our global collective seems to prefer drowning on TikTok rather than distilling this terrifying truth. We are experiencing a climate emergency, and if we don't act now, our future might resemble something like a doomsday movie. Just last week, the Chief Sustainability Officer at PepsiCo, the world's second largest beverage company, released a statement in Fortune magazine that by 2025, over half the world's population may be facing water scarcity. And yet many of us here in America seem to be unfazed. Back home in Kentucky, where I'm from, we have more miles of running water than any other state besides Alaska and more shorelines than Kentucky. We experience so much rainfall that water scarcity seems unfathomable. I grew up alongside the Ohio River, the backbone of the Industrial Revolution here in America, which today is an abomination, one of the most polluted waterways in the world. Kentucky has over 1,100 miles of navigable waterways, and most all of them are contaminated with lead, coal runoff, and forever chemicals that seep into the groundwater. I've spent most of my life observing the environmental effects of corporate greed, wondering how could we willingly degrade the very substance that we need to survive. Coal is king where I come from, and barge after barge ship down the river every day with no end in sight. One of the most difficult things for me to process on a personal level is knowing that many of these social and environmental injustices are entirely preventable through due diligence and the proper management of resources. Recently, there was a very serious train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, where a considerable amount of vinyl chloride was spilled. Within hours, people began reporting signs of illness, and a large plume of smoke wafted down the river for days. Sadly, these types of catastrophes have happened repeatedly for decades with very little recourse. In 1980, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, established the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act. The program is designed to investigate and clean up contaminated sites with hazardous substances. Sites managed under this program are referred to as Superfund sites. There are over 40,000 Superfund sites here in America alone, and approximately 1,300 of these have been listed on the National Priorities List. These priorities are considered the most highly contaminated and undergo longer-term remedial investigation like cleanups. These sites are especially vulnerable to water quality issues. which you can see here on the map, significantly worsened by flooding. And notice most all of these concentrated around the Ohio River Valley. When you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, there's a clear and obvious link between environmental health and public health. People that live in areas with clean water are healthier. Environmental degradation also affects our mental and emotional well-being. People that live in healthy spaces with access to nature are less likely to succumb to addiction. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes it feels so hopeless in our battle to improve water quality and combat climate change. And maybe it is when we think of changing the whole world somehow magically at once. But there is hope, and you can make a difference, and it starts in your local community. With proper planning and action, even the ugliest, most contaminated brownfield can become a beautiful space for many species to enjoy, like here in Louisville at Waterfront Park, where the nonprofit Louisville Waterfront Development Corporation was established by local residents to revert decades of negligence and transform a decommissioned riverfront into one of the busiest, most visited spaces in town. The time to act is now, and it's up to us to make a difference. For your family, for your friends, for your community, please, I implore you to get involved somehow in your local government or a community group to ensure that we all have access to this lifeblood we need to survive. Water is life. Thank you all. Please reach out and stay hydrated.